Now, this lovely winter's afternoon, we are going to visit Aalborg Air Force Base. Now, I hear you asking, why are we visiting Aalborg Air Force Base? Because during World War II, this was a military history first, where the German airborne troops took an airport for the first time. And that is really interesting. They built the airport into one of the largest airports in the country, and they had night fighters stationed here, flying against England during the war. And throughout the perimeter, you will still see scattered everywhere bunkers throughout most of Europe, wherever the Germans occupied. They built things from roads to military bases, and most of that is still here. So let's go have a look, have a little talk about what they did. So we are at a functioning Air Force base, originally built by the Germans.
Yeah, this is one of 3 air bases built during the Second World War. This was the main part from the German. It was the main hub to invade Norway.
Oh.
In the beginning, Denmark wasn't really interesting for the Germans. It was to get iron from Sweden, and the only way to get that was through Norway. So we were just a hub for the Germans to get Norway.
I thought the Germans took Denmark to control the waterways, and also eventually it became a good food hub to actually send food to Germany. But there was a bigger reason for this.
It was a good thing strategically to be able to control the waterways, but if Denmark stayed neutral, they could always lay, mines in neutral water. So it wasn't really that big an issue. But of course, it was easier for them to control if they were there physically.
Yeah, and at that time, the Danish military really couldn't put up that much of a fight, considering the size of the German military in 1940.
No, it wasn't a modern army. It wasn't a modern air force. We were way behind technology.
And there was nothing here.
There was a grass strip, more or less, that you can actually land an aircraft on, but it wasn't, like you see today with a big infrastructure. There was nothing.
So the Germans came and built all this up that we still use today.
Yeah, there was about one main building.
Going through the Air Force Base, you will see, besides, of course, all the hangars, everywhere in the landscape, dotted small bunkers like the little cupola behind me. Of course, the British attacked several times, and they bombed throughout Denmark throughout the war. The British attacked here.
They did.
Not to mention sabotage. There was a lot of sabotage here during the war.
Yeah, there was. The basic thing that the Danish people could do, because we were occupied, that was making a resistance. And one of the sabotage actions took place here. It's not very well documented in the history books and so on, but they actually managed to destroy a significantly amount of airplanes here on this base.
And very few people did this.
Very few people did that, yeah.
For those of you who remember when we went to the museum, he was talking about the speed with which the Germans put up their hangars. I'm standing in one of those World War II hangars now. Of course, it's been modernized quite a bit and the heat is on. They built them that quickly because they're prefab. Concentration camp prisoners in Poland built the main part, the major parts, shipped them up here, little Roman numerals on them, slabbed them together. That's efficiency that I believe we're still building summer houses after the same principles. They have about 20 of these here. All of them are still in use by the Danish Air Force, and they will probably be standing for the next 50 years. Now, growing up on the west coast of Denmark, this is something I'm very familiar with. From the coast, the tip of Denmark, all the way down to the south of France, the Germans built bunkers like this one. So naturally, they scattered the landscape wherever the Germans occupied, and of course, in an airport, you needed heavy-duty concrete bunkers. And it's fascinating because they literally could not destroy them after the war. I know up by the beach there are several summer houses that are built on top of bunkers.
Yeah.
There's a restaurant built on top of the command bunker up in town of Blokhus, and several others, and they couldn't blow them. They filled them with water. They couldn't blow them. They still stand to this day, so they may as well. Well, hell, we have a bunker, so now we have a wine cellar.
Some of the bunkers, when they did the calculation on how much TNT or whatever they used for blowing it up, they had to use, sort of experienced that it would implode and go through the earth and perhaps have an impact 20 kilometers away on buildings, structures, and whatever there. So for instance, you know, if we took a town or a city nearby, every window would break there if you have to do that. So it was quite good stuff they built. What you're looking at right now is a position for the flag cannons as self-protection against aircraft attacks.
So did they have the 88s out here?
Probably, and also the what do you call it, 2x2s that they usually use.
A friend of mine, he has an 88.
Okay.
There's not that many of them.
No. That's what's called the best gun in the world, I guess.
Yep.
I mean, they found out that they were actually just as efficient attacking on tanks and so on because of the high velocity.
You improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Clint Eastwood, for coining that phrase some years after the war.
Yeah.
Different war.
Yeah.
But, all right. That's a nice view.
Yeah.
And this was original.
Most of it is, yeah.
Wow.
But of course, as you can see, it's been used afterwards during the Cold War, when we had 40 millimeters Bofors cannons, which we used for quite a lot of years.
Did we get the Hawk missile system out here as well?
Yeah, but not on this this site.
Yes, shooting straight to the sun.
Yeah. And this is probably the best view you get on this base.
So you have
the size of it.
Oh, fuck. What is it about infantry that makes us want to go in tight holes? Oh, that's awesome. A little firing position. I miss this.
Yeah. Although it's cold, it's a good view.
But you dress for it. And that's what we got, new uniforms.
Yeah, we do.
Very American.
Multi-purpose.
However, for my American military buddies, now you look at this and you think, oh yeah, same as we have. But it isn't.
Nope.
Because this is probably made in England.
Actually, I don't know where this one is produced, but it's
They're
a
made in
good
England,
guess.
and some will we make locally.
Yeah.
But this is heavy duty. This is not the flimsy ones we have. This will keep you warm and probably repel water, if I remember how we do things, slightly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also good against mosquitoes, whatever.
Fuck mosquitoes.
Yeah. Today it's called Air Transport Wing, and it consists of all the transport aircraft in the Danish Air Force. Small country, small Air Force, so we got 4 Hercules C-130J model. And we got,
there.
yeah, and we got 4 Challengers aircraft from Bombardier in Canada, primarily for surveillance operations and VIP transportation.
I remember F-16s out here.
Yeah.
Still?
No.
No.
No, but we got most of the huge repair parts are done here, and the small repairs on daily basic is done on the base.
So all the small little bunkers are empty?
Most of them.
Now remember that, Mr. Putin, if you get any ideas, all the bunkers are empty. And we're standing in what was, back during the time of the German occupation, the only actual airport buildings that are here. They had a facelift, but this was basically the airport as it stood during that time. And then of course all the bunkers and the defensive, and all the way through the war, it was enhanced.
Yeah, it was. And especially during the Cold War, we found out which building could still be used, but they built some pretty good structures, so most of them we still use today.
And one thing I can't help but look at is what we're standing on.
Yeah.
We're standing on, the Germans, wherever they went, they built roads.
Yeah.
Just like they built the Autobahn.
Yeah.
And for the Americans, the Autobahn was actually the inspiration for the American freeway system. You see these slabs still in a big part of the country. You still see these roads on the country to the beach. Germans built roads everywhere, made the truly immobile army.
They did.
Which was very interesting because in Prussia, before the war, the Germans started building roads crisscrossing Prussia.
Yeah.
In the same way. All over Europe, wherever the Germans were, you see roads made and built like this.
They feared to fight the war on two fronts, and to be able to cope up with that, they made an infrastructure that would make it easy to deploy an army from east to west.
Now, you all asked yourself why I wanted to come here. And most of you haven't heard of Denmark, so here we are on the map. There's a military first that happened here that most of you are not aware of. During the first day of the occupation of Denmark, what happened?
Well, this was the first real airborne assault where you actually managed to conquer an airfield. It's never been done in history before.
Wow, and this was even before Epidemol and France.
No, it was, yeah, you could say that, and what they did afterward was when they went to the Benelux countries and so on, they sort of took the experience that they got from here, took it further, so went on. For instance, when they took Crete in the Mediterranean, that was also airborne assault, where they could use the experience that they got from here.
So do we know?
It was done on the first day. They sort of liberated this airfield within a few hours after the war started in Denmark. And they got boots on the ground.
Total surprise, or was there any fighting, or?
There was fighting at the border, but resistance was. It's part of the history that hurts in some things people, because you can always discuss how much resistance could you do.
We scuttled the fleet, and we lost some lives, but against the German army, Denmark today is a country with 5 million people, and not really that big of an army, except the army we have now is professional and deployed all over the world. Back then, 3 million people in population and barely a couple of hundred.
And it was a country used to, during 50 years from that, being a neutral country, having a neutral defense policy, because you didn't want to have a huge amount of forces, because that was also sending a signal to the big brother in the south.
And the big brother, the German army in 1940, there was none like it.
No.
So there's something to be said for let's live today and fight tomorrow. So the Danes dissolved, went home, and they fought in the resistance for the rest of the war, really.
Yeah, the way that we could. You could say that the main contribution was that we sort of made sure that there was a lot of German soldiers in Denmark.
Yeah. Do we know anything about the German units that dropped here?
They were, I guess, the first specific parachute soldiers. It was regiments of parachute soldiers. And that was not seen before that.